Here are the finals of Star City Games Columbus. Our Team Modern Open brought to you by Ultimate Guard, Twitch, and by Tigtone.
From the creators of Tigtone.
New show premiering next week on Adult Swim.
At midnight.
At midnight.
Midnight, 13th. Don't miss it.
On the side tables, as we mentioned, we have Ironworks versus some 3-color disruptive decks.
Oh, that iron's going to work.
It'll need to work. It doesn't just do it on its own.
Yeah,
not
no matter
in these
what,
matchups.
someone's iron's going to have to work here.
And here we go with the finals. Patel starting on Swiftwater. Oh, that's not the one. There we go. Thank you.
You're doing your best.
I was going to say the other two line. That's not.
I'm young.
Cliffs.
My memory is superior. Yeah. It's not your fault.
It's been so much magic this weekend. Flame Blade Adept for Gaieski and Thing in the Ice for Patel. And we'll see Goblin Lore. Now, that 1-2 is a little menacing here, so I think it could connect.
It's menacing?
It's
menacing?
That horror is scared of it. It's not going to block.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, it's in ice. How afraid can it be?
Yeah. Fatal Push, Street Wraith, and land discarded to Goblin Lore.
Both of these decks are really kind of getting ahead on the table, which is what you need to see, because in a lot of ways it's going to feel like a race.
So swinging for 4, Patel to 16, and a hollow one cast for 0 on Ethan's side.
Not discarded by the Goblin Lore. True sign
That's
of a hollow
just how you want to do it. But Thing in the Ice in this creature matchup feels like one of the more important cards. And when you pair with Manamorphose, Patel's deck does some unfair things too.
There's some fair things going on.
Okay, so 0 mana, remove a counter.
Hey, it is 2 mana, and then you get 2 mana back. Is that...
Yeah, when you counter it, it's fine.
It's 2 bigger than 2. Can you help me compare these two things?
That would mess up a lot of axioms.
What?
There we go. Look. Down to 15 goes Patel off a fetch land. One spell here. We'll see if he can get the full 4 to transform Thing in the Ice.
Definitely going to give some style points to Patel for these basics. Those are nice. 2005 Arena lands, I believe. Big fan of those. Kamigawa promos.
It's just a small... What is even on the island? It's just water.
It's a cute little island.
That's a very small island.
By some... Or those are big waterfalls. You don't know.
I don't know. That was the point. Opt brings 2 counters to Thing in the Ice.
Picking up a Lightning Axe here off the top is big for Patel. This is huge. It's the thing that makes it harder for him to really just fall behind.
Opt again. Well, in a sense, it's a good card, but if you're planning to transform Thing in the Ice, it almost feels like axing a hollow one and bouncing it are going to have similar effects.
Oh, it's a multi-step process.
And it was 4 spells on turn 3 here for the Is It Phoenix deck. Patel, we go Manamorphose, Opt, and Faithless Looting. The horror will awake out of the ice, transform into a 7/8, put all the creatures back in the hand. A turn 2 0 mana 4/4 looking like it may not be good enough this game.
Yeah, so basically the idea here and why we kept that Lightning Axe is because now we want to make Gaieski dedicate more resources to putting it back in play.
And Patel adds an Arclight Phoenix to the mix as well, so it's not just a swing for 7, it's a swing for 10. That's half of Gaieski's life total.
Close game. Close game.
If he makes that attack and that attack again, it will be all the life points.
Are you sure?
I think it adds up.
You're the math guy. I'm just going to trust you. You know these things, and I'm just here to look pretty. What can I say?
You think Gaieski going to cast Burning Inquiry here? I'm glad we got to see one of these before the game was over.
Oh, yeah. This is kind of a situation where Gaieski's got to know this is bad for him. But what do? Not cast it? You got to try to get back out on the table, and this is the way you make 0 mana hollow ones.
3 cards each. It's going to be a discard of Flamewake Phoenix, land, and Goblin Lore for Gaieski. Land, Opt, and Lightning
Phoenix
Axe.
Is so good at blocking. Or wait.
Oh, no. It doesn't do that very often.
Oh, wrong Phoenix. It's Patel with the good Phoenixes.
Well, this one, if you bring it back slowly...
Slowly. Are you supposed to...
Is there a way to bring it back? Yeah, post-combat you cast it.
Yeah, you put a single finger on it and just ease into play.
And if by the time it comes back you've already gone through your attack, then it's just there.
You're like, I'll pay for it. Attack with Hollow One. Meanwhile, the right hand is still moving.
And I say, why is it not touched back? It didn't get there in time.
Just give it a second. Just give it a second. Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird.
Gurmag Angler. is the follow-up by Gaieski. It delves away, but the 5-5 not actually going to be big enough here as Patel has the 7-8 from Awoken Horror.
I'm glad you're here.
A free hollow one. There we go. These two together could perhaps take down that 7-8.
This is proactive assistance. I'm here for it, and I needed it. So thank you.
Back to Patel we go.
Patel having to chuck that lightning axe is actually a pretty big game. That stings a
Yeah,
lot.
that lightning axe would be nice on this board.
Oh, yeah, you attack, they double block, and...
you win. Right? I got it. Game 2.
Is that his second lightning axe in his hand?
How many are in the main? Patel, we'll check here. Looks like he's got 2 in the main, so it could be a second one.
I think that's another lightning axe.
Okay. Well, if one of them was gonna go next, I feel like the second one will still do it.
I think it'll be fine. It's a good card.
All right.
It's a real good card.
Not giving it away, as we're spending a lot of time on this Serum Vision's going to check the...
You got to sell it.
You have to sell.
You got to sell it.
You have to sell the block that he's priced into making.
Yeah.
Right?
Listen, you're in the finals of an event playing for thousands of dollars. You check everything, right?
Check his
you
graveyard.
Gotta make sure. Excellent. All right. It's time for combat.
Patel shocks to
almost
13
time for
pre-combat. First we need this land.
Getting close to combat.
There is Lightning Axe. You're right. Okay.
Oh.
And Gut Shot. We have them both.
Drum roll.
Swing for 10. Lethal attacks. 3 will connect in the air. Gaieski going to have to block.
Kind of what we were talking about before, where you just aren't blocking flyers with this Hollow End deck.
No. Arclight Phoenix next for 3. Cracking Right can be a truly scary one. Here's the double block. This is where Patel would want to show the Lightning Axe. He'll order Angler first. Doesn't matter on the order, though. Lightning Axe is going to be able to take this. Discards the Gut Shot. The Angler is down. Now just the Hollow one is left alone attacking, and Gaieski's going to pick up the cards.
It's over. This is it. There are not really any cards you can find on the top of your deck that are going to get you out of this.
First result in, and that is of Tariq Patel. Is it Phoenix takes game 1? So we'll start here. Ethan Gaieski, we mentioned he has a weakness in this matchup where he can't block flyers. He can't answer them. Does anything in the sideboard help with that?
So the things that we're going to be looking at that can do that are Fatal Push and Terminate. And, you know, if he had any Manamorphoses of his own, we can maybe look at these Engineered Explosives to try and use them. But that's not really realistic. So most of what we're going to be looking at, Fatal Push, Terminate, these are the things that shoot Crackling Drake out of the sky. They're able to actually get a 7-8 off of a table. And that's kind of what he really needs to be focusing on. We saw in that game how just one big creature was able to dominate the board and close it in 2 turns.
Okay, so he does have some options, some removal here, but still feels like the game plan is going to be mostly the same.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of Gaieski's sideboard is kind of just Leyline of the Void and Thoughtseize. Lots of anti-combo cards, and there's a lot of synergies in the Is It Phoenix deck, but it isn't exactly a combo deck. But Leyline of the Void is kind of a card that can hurt the Arclight Phoenixes if Gaieski thinks that that card specifically is a big enough problem that he needs to be hitting the graveyard itself.
Now on Patel's side, his sideboard, he has a lot of different removal type options. 3 Abrades, 2 Beacon Bolts. That's a pretty hefty removal spell. And then he actually has Graveyard Hate, but it may not be the right kind for the matchup. It's Surgical Extraction.
Beacon Bolt's very nice in this matchup, specifically because it's more standard. He's really just about these Arclight.
It's in standard, yeah.
It's more Is It synergy. He's a proper Rouse Eric. 2
copies of it is pretty... That's a lot here. Now, I actually like Abrade because this is the matchup where both halves are great.
Yes.
Right? It deals with a flame... The Flameblade Adept. It also shatters Hollow One.
Which
is nice.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Do you go far enough? Do you bring in... Abrade seems great. Does Beacon Bolt come along?
Yes, absolutely. That's the type of card that, especially if you think it's going to be a little bit grindier post-board, and I am pretty confident that it will be, you're going to need to take out those 5/5s. You're going to need to get those 4/4s out of the way. And even if there is a Leyline of the Void involved, you still actually count your exiled instants and sorceries, so you don't lose anything there.
So the first weekend of 2019 here is SCG Columbus, but the SCG Tour off to a start here in January, as our next stop is going to be SCG Worcester. That one just 7 days away. 6, actually.
Very excited about that. We're going to be back.
Oh, yeah.
So excited.
Those of you not in the Worcester area, we will be casting that one same on this channel as well.
So excited. This weekend's been fantastic. First time in the booth.
got all these faithless lootings in the top 8. Just
listen, it's just been good, clean, fair magic where every bit of it's understandable the whole way through.
All right, so Emma, I know you had something to say about surgical extraction when it comes to fair deck matchups.
Wait.
You have opinions on this one, right? Okay,
look,
so Tariq Sideboard has 3 surgicals in it.
I'm throwing stuff over here. All right, but you probably have to bring it in because it is so good against very specific cards.
See, when I see cards in my opponent's graveyard, that's just like, they're just like ducks on the pond. They're just cards. They're waiting there to be surgical. I see a card in the graveyard.
Most decks put cards in the graveyard.
I know, and I just gotta.
Oh yeah,
surgical
I've seen. It looks like you have rabies. You're just like foaming at the mouth, like I've got a surgical them.
They're just waiting. They're asking to be surgical.
They're asking for it. Oh my gosh. Well, so basically this is going to come down to how important Tariq thinks specifically opposing Bloodghast and Flamewake Phoenixes are going to be. You could make a case for the Faithless Lootings, and if you're just trying to take out all the Hollow Ones, that could be fine, as the Hollow One deck does have a lot of ways to just filter through its deck. But outside of those specific things, Surgical is not going to necessarily be at its best here.
Yeah, if you're really embracing the control role, right? If you're I want my beacon bolts, I want to just remove everything, then, you're going to have to Surgical some of the stuff eventually. If Tariq's playing a middle-of-the-road game, where instead of 100 removal spells, he wants 1 or 2, and then a win condition, Surgical feels like it's going a bit too far down the path.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely something to be said for the fact that Patel may just have looked at that first game and go, "Wow, he died."
Yeah.
Well, I actually, I want to kill him again.
Right.
I want to kill him again. So let's run it back. Let's run it back.
Thing in the Ice looked fantastic.
Yes, it did. Absolutely. There are so many cards that you are abusing things in order to put them into play, but you don't really get to abuse them more than once without jumping through some hoops.
Got a game result over on the top table. Abe Corrigan on Ironworks takes the first game over Omar Beldon.
That iron works.
That deck's great. Yeah. I don't even.
Embrace the puns, Matthias. They're gonna get worse.
Got some mulligans here. Gaieski has kept on 6. Patel going to 5.
They're both so synergy-driven that for the most part this is going to be fine unless we start seeing some ley lines or something getting involved. That could make it a little hairier.
And nothing a Burning Inquiry can't screw up.
Look, Manamorphose just breaks so many rules. Well, Manamorphose is so fair that it can just undo mulligans.
One of my favorite things about the Is It Phoenix deck is that Crackling Drake plays through Leyline of the Void.
Oh.
It's nice.
Oh yeah, it's so sweet how those things are templated for the new mechanic that plays with
Jumpstart,
exactly.
Right.
But we see some splash damage here. We saw a match earlier with Devin Kepke where cards getting exiled was actually fine. There was a line.
It was a rest in peace, right?
No, it was the one where he needed his opponent to surgical his own card so he could Izzet Charm it back.
Yeah, and it was actually fine.
Right, but an alternate line he could have taken was surgical extracting his own Thought Scour because it takes 3 cards out of his deck and puts them in exile.
Oh wow! Oh wow! That is nice.
Yeah, the issue is if he gets surgicaled back, it counters the surgical.
And the opponent would have to fail to find. No Thought Scours in here. Couldn't find any.
Good clean extractions.
Izarek has kept on 5 as we start game number 2. Both horse trading lands a cycle of Street Wraith for Gaieski.
What do you think it was like for Richard Garfield, lying in bed dreaming of Street Wraith and Manamorphose?
I mean, he'd probably like these cards. From what I've read, Richard Garfield was very into land destruction in the original design.
From what you've heard, have you just heard the cards in beta?
Oh, yeah. They're just...
Armageddon, Stone Rain, Sinkhole,
No.
Balance.
Even the bad ones, like Death Grip. You ever read that card?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, let's see, not quite beta, but Desert Twister.
Conversion. That's a fun one. All mountains become plains permanently.
Look, Boil.
Right. We see a Cycle Street Wraith, a cast of Faithless Looting here for Gaieski. As to when you cycle Street Wraith in these Hollow One decks, there's a lot that goes into that decision.
Yeah, it's amazing how much cycling can make you think about something.
Right.
You obviously wanted to just kind of discount your Hollow Ones whenever possible, but if you don't have the Hollow One yet, there's kind of the drawback that you just cycled for nothing, but then you have these cantrips, so you want as much information as possible. There's really a squeeze here that it puts on the pilot.
Right, when we see Street Wraith in its other decks in Modern, be it Shadow or Living End, the correct time to cycle it is basically
right now.
Right now. Every time you draw, you just, let's do that.
Oh yeah, let's go. Have you got to live the shadow dream of my opponent has a swamp, is it 3, and I have a 3/4 swamp walker?
I've never registered a Death Shadow.
No one's perfect. No one's perfect.
There's so much fairness that goes on there. There's
Shadow's
creatures.
fair.
My cards have different functions. Some of them attack, some of them draw cards, some of them look at your hand. That's just way too many different things. See, when you play Scapeshift, all your cards do the same thing. They just all get lands.
Eventually, they're lava spikes.
Yeah, I have one thing I do. Every card's the same card. I have one plan. That plan makes sense. We do that.
Matthias, you're so good at your trick.
That's right. If you just get really good at it, then it'll work. Okay. If you have a hammer, you just got to try to figure out in what way everything is a nail.
Where nail do I hit?
Here's an object. Where am I supposed to hit it? Hold on.
So would you say you're a Gruul mage?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That Scapeshift's definitely your stomping ground.
I enjoy... I feel like I want to be fancier than that answer, right? That it was a lot to come to that conclusion.
What?
The Gruul life chooses you. That's the thing.
Ooga.
Reluctantly, yes. Tasigur, nearly delving away the graveyard here for Ethan, was actually able to have enough mana to keep a Flamewake Phoenix in it.
Yeah, and this is kind of what Gaieski needs to be doing, is he doesn't quite have as many tools to grind as Patel does, so you do just need to get out on the board and actually start applying pressure. He naturally wishes that he had kind of a window to bring back this Phoenix before giving Patel the chance to use a removal spell, but you kind of just got to get out at some point.
Over to Patel, trying to get something going. Looks like Opt will be first spell here.
Oof, almost decided just that this one's fine.
This was the one?
At it. Yep, pulled that one a little far back, realized, wait, no, I'm scrying.
Hold on. Yeah, looks like that will scry to the bottom. And yeah, Surgicals have come in. He picked one of them up.
One of the nice things about Surgical is there's also kind of a free spell, and kind of like what I touched on before, it can counter other surgical extractions.
Those 0 mana card fights.
There aren't any in Gaieski's list, but they can fight them.
It's basically like misstepping their misstep.
Oh, jeez.
And, okay, Patel can play the unfair game as well here. A Faithless Looting discarding a pair of Arclight Phoenix.
How do you feel about surgical extraction on
I like
Phoenix?
I like any third spell here. Just any spell.
Wow.
Lightning Axe will work, though. That'll take care of Tasigur. That's 3 spells. Now these Arclights will come back. Hold on. Patel turns the tides big. Swings for 6. And about both these games, here's what I feel like has happened. Hollow One in Ethan's hand, Ethan has actually had really good starts. He had game 1, he had a Hollow One and a Flameblade Adept. This game, he had a turn 2 Tasigur. And both games, Tariq has just countered and then some.
I kind of got to be honest with you. I felt like Hollow One's start there was a little bit anemic. See, here, we're cycling Hollow Ones and
trying to have 2 more. It just shows us, look, man, this is what's happening today.
Can you see him looking over at that burning inquiry?
The beats are bad if you just show it. You say,
I did my best.
This is our life.
You gotta tell your teammates and just like, guys,
Is that 2 anglers and 2 hollow ones? That's a lot of. Yeah.
Yep.
That is too much.
Yeah.
So Patel is your winner, 2-0 over Ethan Gaieski.
Yeah, sometimes you can, keep the show up a little bit. But if we're being honest, then sometimes you're just like, guys, it's more productive for me to talk to my teammates than it is for me to just keep on playing this.
All right, so Tariq Patel picks up the win, which means 1 more match win will earn them the trophy. And they have a spot where they can do it. You see Dominic Harvey, the person who in that game too got them into the semifinals. He is primed right now to win the tournament up a game.
Iron's working.
It's working in both matches.
Working.
Iron is working.
Listen, that deck's great. Hopefully
that deck is
it
great.
will not be legal much longer.
Yes. That deck's
start
very
that
great.
conversation.
Remember how we said these are like the best deck, but here's 2 decks that have great matchups against it?
Yep.
And then how it's like the game one. It's beating them. It's beating both of them.
Huh,
Yeah, that's like. I mean, it does.
I'm glad that deck exists. I'm glad that this is
It's really
happening.
fun. It's really
That's
fun.
not true. I'm glad I'm over here and not having to either Ironworks or lose to Ironworks.
All right, let's see how Dominic Harvey is doing. We'll head over to that game now. Done with game 1 against Luke Feeney here. Feeney will be on the play for the second game. Now, Harvey's build is the Thopter Sword build that we saw last round.
So the big draw here is that it's harder to break up the synergies when there's more of them.
Okay. Yeah, I was checking the cards he removed from the deck for that, and so there aren't any chromatic spheres in the list. There's no Spine of Ishsa.
It looks like there are 3 Stony Silence on Feeney's side, and
That's
unsurprisingly,
huge.
They're important.
Yeah, against the All Artifacts deck. Now, last round, Frank Scarin had a set of, I believe, 3 Stony Silence and was still not able to convert Harvey with enough Nature's Claims and time to just value through it with Thopter Foundry.
Yeah, there are 4 Nature's Claims, and even past that, he has a ton of size. Master Thopterus, where maybe you don't activate artifacts and you just make a bunch of stupid Thopters.
For game 2 here, Luke on a 6-card hand. He's scried to the bottom.
Sometimes you
here.
End up in weird spots with these Spirits decks where you want to mulligan to Stony Silence because you feel like you can't win without it, but then you've mulliganed, and even with this Stony Silence, your hand's kind of anemic because you're down a bunch of cards.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. He does have the Stony Silence.
Beats.
Though you have to see, right, those Nature's Claims are in. What I like about the Ironworks deck is it actually has the freedom just to board in 4 claims. Even when they're dead, you can just claim a Star or a Terrarian, and it's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. And in a lot of those cases, you're cycling, you're up some life, and that honestly helps against these decks that are trying to put some pressure on you while they're disrupting you.
You mentioned Anemic Start, and that looks like just about it. Luke's 3rd turn misses the land drop, plays Supreme Phantom, and has to pass.
Yikes. Not where you want to be. Ooh, you know what matches up well against a 1-3?
3-2?
A 3-2.
Scrap Trawler on the battlefield for Harvey. Now, Stony Silence is going to keep most of this board in check. There's Thopter Foundry and Terrarian, which aren't going to do anything here.
So I'm thankful Thopter Foundry's on the screen because I assumed that Razorverge Thicket and Botanical Sanctum could cast it, but I wasn't positive.
It's got it's a gold card. It's got some weird mana costs.
It's whatever kind of card it wants to be.
Here is Cart Clan Ironworks. And Emma, Luke had the counter here because we talked about how 3-2 countered 1-3. Well, he upgraded to 2-4. Now, yeah. Just stone colds. The board is walled off.
Oh, yeah. This is good luck.
Still no more lands for Luke.
Looks like Luke's kind of considering if he wants to send one of them and kind of hold the fort down or both of them.
Yeah, I mean, 2 extra damage, but you take 3.
Does he have another Stony Silence and a Rest in Peace in his hand?
That's so good.
Do you smell that? Is that
That's
game 3?
Much. There's no Fracturing Gust or anything like that. out of Ironworks.
Oh, wait, hold on. Can Thopter Foundry pay for Metallic Rebuke for the blue part?
Yes.
For the blue part, though.
Unclear. We will have to check on that. Could he have a 0 mana Metallic Rebuke?
Could we get the text for Metallic Rebuke on the screen?
Okay, yeah, those are 3 of them in his sideboard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's one of the coolest things about his side. I mean, the Thopter Foundry combo is sick, to be clear. But the thing that is sick here is just the Metallic Rebukes kind of give you another angle. It's similar to the Swan Song Negate thing we've been seeing all weekend. But if this is a 0-mana way for you to cast it, that's huge.
Well, this is... Dominic's going to have to figure out how to even play this game. There's now 2 Stony Silences in play.
That means there wasn't a 0-mana Metallic Rebuke. I'll tell you right now.
Okay, we don't think it's in the hand?
No. I'm pretty sure we would have countered that one. I'm no expert.
Wow, no, there's already one in play. The second one doesn't do anything, right?
Nothing does anything. There are 2 Stony Silence in play. Ah, yes. The Darksteel Citadel Stony Silence combination.
No, they can only pay for 1 colorless in the reminder text. They can't. It's not of the color. It's
Unplayable.
It's not actually Convoke.
Unplayable.
Right. So
I'm just kidding.
You can't tap your blue artifacts to make it free.
I love this card.
It's pretty good. I mean,
fan.
1 mana leak's nice.
I've tapped some clues for this card.
I like it when you... That's a nice kind of artifact to tap.
You don't even have to tap clues to sack them.
Right. They just actually are free rolls.
Oh, yeah. It's nice. It is nice.
A Mind Stone for Harvey, but Stony Silence becoming the whole story, and we're just going to load up on these 2 mana I hate cards. And now Rest in Peace joins the Stony Silence.
Harvey's saying, no, this is where my exile pile goes.
I wanted to say you
Close
could
game.
engineered explosives for 2, but that doesn't work. Stony Silence has it covered.
So who wins the race? 4 at a time or 3 at a time?
I mean, it's a close one, right? But one of them's bigger. And you know... It's the 4.
It's time to pack it in. It's time for game 3.
Luke Feeney takes one on the back of a well-prepared sideboard.
Oh, well...
A well-drawn sideboard, too.
I believe, let's see, we have 2 Rest in Peace, 3 Stony Silence. That is a lot.
He had the Damping Sphere in his hand, too.
Because, of
I
course,
just should have mashed all of them. Just keep them coming.
Oh, yeah,
know.
Feeney just goes, no, come back. No, wait, stop, don't go.
I wasn't done playing these.
I
boarded them all in.
I had 2 more turns of killing you and making you feel hopeless.
Yeah, he turned off all the cards except the Scrap Trawler, so you had to have the Rest in Peace. That Scrap Trawler didn't work either.
Oh, yeah. Everything just on out of there.
Feeney on the board now with Bant Spirits. Will need to win 1 more game. If he can, it will send it over to Omar Beldon and Abe Corrigan to end this round.
It's hard to say with as long as Beldon and Corrigan have been going in game 2 here. It's hard to say who that favors, because on one hand you kind of think it takes a while to combo if you're the Ironworks deck, but on the other side of things, if it's taken that long, that's probably good for the deck that's trying to stop the other one from comboing.
Yeah, I mean, the longer it goes, the more you think we're watching an Ironworks combo.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like a sort of like a dip graph, sort of, where there's a time in the middle where it's a little more likely that Grixis has won towards the middle, but then the odds that it has won they just drop off drastically.
Well, Grixis is interesting. It's this control deck in a way, but its wins, if you're going through a tournament with the deck, don't actually take that long. It doesn't win much before turn 4, but it doesn't win much after turn 7.
That's true, but those 7 turns take a while.
Yeah.
You got to stare at your hand, figure out how you're going to pay 11 life, and then eventually pay all 11 of that life while not dying to a Psymaster Thopterist.
It's not an easy, yeah.
It's very complicated, you see.
So, one thing I want to ask about this matchup. We saw Luke banking on these powerful sideboard cards. Game 3, he's going to be on the draw. Is he going to need something like that to win this? Or if he just has a good curve and his his plan A of disruptive spirit creatures, could that be enough?
Hate rocks or bust.
Okay,
I'm
it's that
prepared
bad?
to call that. I mean, there's a reason that we see 3 Stony Silence, 2 Rest in Peace, and a Damping Sphere all in the sideboard. There's even a case for when you see things like Thopter Foundry, he's probably looking at these Detention Spheres that he has on the board. I imagine most of this sideboard is coming in here. And normally Knight of Autumn is not actually that great in the matchup, despite it being artifact-based, because you don't expose the important artifacts until you're going off anyway. But with this extra dynamic that Harvey's bringing to the table, there's just a ton of cards that Feeney can be bringing in, and you're not going to have this much spend this much sideboard real estate respecting a matchup if you don't absolutely have to.
Things have evened up. though. We kind of hit that valley you're saying where it was
long 7 turns.
That was the
Long 7 turns.
But Omar does win, so for Beldon, he picks up a win over Abe Corrigan. And now both matches entering Game 3.
If you linger too close to death's door, you risk falling in, you know? That's flavor text for something. I think it's Death Shadow. It might be Tragic Slip. It might be Tragic Slip.
That's Tragic Slip
actually.
sounds better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hope someone in Twitch chat is just ringing.
Oh, they're already
for
on
being
it. Already
super
there.
Wrong.
If you say anything that's ever wrong, they know. That's just how the world. Oh man.
I mean, they're here after this many rounds.
Both players keeping on 7 here for game number 3. Dominic starting on Inventor's Fair.
It's a little odd to see that without any kind of 1-drop, but he did shave some of the ones in order to make room for this Thopter Sword package.
Mind Stone. And just a pass for Harvey. A lot of defense. Looks like at least one Nature's Claim is one. He's kept the hand on the back of that.
Yeah, that's something you could definitely sniff out in this kind of scenario where if you don't have the 1-drop, and you have a colorless land on 1, there's a reason that Harvey is in the finals of this tournament with a deck as complicated as Ironworks and chose to keep this hand. So what's the draw? It's kind of your job to figure out exactly why it is Harvey has made the decisions he's made in this game.
Luke's going to go for Rest in Peace, and we'll see whether this was the bait spell, I suppose, of the 2-mana enchantments.
Yeah, kind of the thing about Rest in Peace here is Harvey gets to keep developing under it. Until something else goes wrong, so to speak, you don't have to answer the Rest in Peace until you're trying to pull off one of your combos.
Now, with Sai, can you actually win through the Rest in Peace, or does he have to answer it at some point?
With Sai, it makes it a little bit easier if Harvey's chosen to bring that in, but if you're going to be using Scrap Trawler or your Thopter Sword combo, you basically have to have the Rest in Peace. Or you have to deal with the Rest in Peace, rather.
Yeah, it has to be removed. We do see in Harvey looking at Iker Wellspring to start out the turn. And as you mentioned, just going to continue to develop.
Interestingly enough, choosing to not tap Mind Stone for mana there over the Botanical Sanctum, this could be him trying to not represent the Nature's Claim here. If he knows he's not going to cast it until his next turn anyway, and he knows he's going to spend his mana, it makes it look like it's less likely that he has that green spell. And now he also has the option to crack it.
Did that with both Botanical Sanctums as he cast the Terrarian there. And he will pass. Oof. And what is it? I love the bluff here, if it is a bluff. Putting a die on top of his deck to remind himself. I suppose it would be of the Inventor's Fair?
Yep.
Or of the Mind Stone.
Likely the Inventor's Fair. That's the gain of life die. It's even a 1. Look at it.
Well, Mind Stone draws 1 card.
That's just good math. That's just good math.
Noble Hierarch for Luke Feeney. Now that he has a hate piece in play, the question is what kind of clock he has. And for the second game in a row, he's stuck on 2 lands.
I do love Harvey being patient with this Nature's Claim and not letting himself get got by a stray Stony Silence here. Really showing some discipline.
You'll see that upkeep to 21 with Inventor's Fair.
I knew what the die was for. I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen to me.
Buried Ruin.
Non-bow with Rest in Peace. Non-bow with Rest in Peace.
Doesn't do very much?
No, not yet. Just give it a second. Just give it a second. This never happens.
All right. Okay, now it's going to do something. Here is Nature's Claim on the Rest in Peace.
Yeah, and here's a point where Harvey's hand is kind of forced, because if Feeney gets to untap with Noble Hierarch, there's a not zero chance that Feeney has access to Spell Queller to stop the Nature's Claim.
Right.
So you kind of have to pull the trigger here if you're planning to do anything, and with that Sword of the Meek hanging out in his hand, you can kind of assume Harvey has an idea of what's going to happen in the next turn or two.
Yeah, Luke actually looks like he may have a unified will here, but he's going to have to hold it, because Dominic, now with Inventor's Fair, has 4 mana up to possibly tutor on end step.
Exactly. Trying to draw a card with Terrarian and form his tutor just a little bit. Figuring out if he wants to sacrifice the Mind Stone or if he wants to crack the Inventor's Fair.
2 mana floating off the Terrarian. He's going to use it just to draw the card, it looks like, with Mind Stone. And
Yeah,
we'll
the
go back
longer
to his
you
turn.
wait, if you don't think you're going to win in the next turn or two, you might as well just keep the Inventor's Fair in play. That's basically a demonic tutor in your deck. So having access to that as the game continues, you're going to have a better idea of just exactly what it is you need.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, when you have tutor effects, that it's a wild card lets you you want to wait as long as possible to decide what it's going to be, what the piece you're missing is.
Exactly. At this point, it could end up being anything. If he, fetches up a Thopter Foundry and then draws a Thopter Foundry, he ends up feeling real dumb.
Well, here is sort of the meek from Harvey. It's half of that combo.
That's bait.
Yeah, on Luke's side, you could spell quell this, but that doesn't feel great.
I'd go as far as say this is low quality bait.
Right.
There's kind of a point where you just go, yeah, that resolves
That's the
if you're
card.
sure. I'm not going to stop you, I guess. Looks like Harvey's flooding a little bit here. But when your lands are spells, kind of hard to complain about it.
Terrarian impasses the play. He does continue to develop his mana. Has tapped the Inventor's Fair. At some point, that can be used, but we'll see where things go from here as Luke has a play on end step.
Just leaving up Buried Ruin and Colored Mana Sources. Maybe something happens where you decide you need to get back this Mind Stone.
An expensive card to cycle, but Mind Stone does work for that. And are we maybe in a company, though, from Luke?
I think it's just about time we collected some company.
And this will put some pressure on the game.
This is really what Feeney needs to be happening here. Something like a Thalia, maybe just a bunch of Lords. Things that just put pressure on the table.
Finds Supreme Phantom and Spell Queller.
We count that. We count
4
that.
power.
For now.
Right, the second one would be a ton.
Yeah, with that Unified Will hanging out in hand, if there's, say, a land and another Lord, or just another Lord via Phantasmal Image or something of the like, that's going to be huge.
Feeney down to 16 here. And I'm going to try to keep the Ironworks deck at bay as he starts some attacks. Same amount of damage, so it'll just be Queller alone. That exalts up to a 4 power attack.
Always been a Noble Hierarch fan. Always been a Noble Hierarch fan.
Lets him leave back this blocker.
Noble Hierarch's just doing a good job.
Noble Hierarch's great.
Doing a good job.
And a pass again from Luke holding up potential Spell Queller, potential Collected Company.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine Harvey actually coming back from this spot because Feeney is kind of just taking control where he has pressure. It's not a lot of pressure yet, but he has this Unified Will, and if he's shocking, we know he has more than just a Unified Will. You don't make your 5th land for a 2-drop.
If his hand is just Unified Will and Spell Queller, that's going to be pretty hard for Harvey to work through.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have 2 spells that are must counters.
Right.
They have to actually be relevant enough to kind of merit spending this pretty valuable resource, if we're being honest, from Feeney's side.
Harvey looking for just that kind of card. Goes through 2 mana with Terrarian, 2 mana floating right now. Cards that must be answered.
Whole team getting in on it.
So what would be good enough? So Krark-Clan Ironworks, Thopter Foundry, both those would likely earn a counter spell. Do you think Scrap Trawler would?
That one's a little bit tougher. It's likely. It's likely, if we're being honest, because there's kind of a backup fair game that comes from having Scrap Trawler, where you can just start looping all these random cantrips that you have. You know, your Terrarian, your Chromatic Star, etc., or even Engineered Explosives or something to that effect.
Blue and white were the colors off of Terrarian. That does cast a Thopter Foundry, if Dominic has one. Looks like he's going to lead on Scrap Trawler.
All right, so you tell us, Feeney. Is this worth it?
And no hesitation, the answer is yes.
Oh yeah, that's a relevant card.
And it's going to add to the clock as Spell Queller is the card that takes care of it. Scrap Trawler's gone. Can't be Buried Ruined back, as that's in exile.
Yeah, and there's even kind of a point where you're just more incentivized to go ahead and just kind of pull the trigger on this when you can.
Dominic tries for Krark-Clan Ironworks. That's going to earn the Unified Will. 1 card left in Harvey's hand. But he hasn't used the Inventor's Fair yet.
That's true. That's true. At this point, Thopter Sword buys a lot of time. If we can just survive, say, an attack or two.
If that last card in Harvey's hand is a Thopter Foundry, I actually feel pretty good about his board.
We have an Inventor's Fair. That could be anything.
Yeah.
Could be a Thopter Foundry.
That can be a Thopter Foundry, but then we have to start looking at the clock on the game.
We got to survive 2 turns. That's
Right.
that's the tough part. Inventor's Fair gains a life, which puts us to 19. And currently, there's only 7 power in play.
Okay, so he goes down to, 12. So far, so good, but so he can hope to dodge something like a company into some more lords.
Exactly. If Feeney has another lord this turn, then that's not going to be good enough. But if Feeney doesn't have a way to just jam a bunch of pressure on the table right now, then I kind of like Harvey's spot.
Right now, Abe Corrigan, having moved over there to between his 2 teammates, they're just discussing the play here.
It's definitely a complex board state.
Yeah.
Right. The Ironworks deck is tough to play with, but there's also a point where you're kind of having to thread a needle a little bit, where you need to apply pressure with spirits, but you also need to be able to answer what they're doing. And when you play a sorcery like Detention Sphere, you might just let them know your shields are down and kind of ruin yourself.
So it's Supreme Phantom Detention Sphere. They actually, looks like they Detention Sphere the Mox Opal.
That's an interesting decision.
I don't like that one at all.
Yeah.
If you want to stop, I think Sword of the Meek would be the card I'd want to hit
I
here.
really like taking the Sword of the Meek here. It might just be trying to choke on mana or something to that effect, but with Darksteel Citadel, we still have this Inventor's Fair turned on.
Crash in for 10. Dominic down to 8. If he has an artifact land, and he does, then he'll go up to 9 on upkeep. He's got 2 cards in hand. One is Spire of Industry. We'll see what the other is.
So at this point, really we're kind of just trying to figure out what it is that Harvey is going to do to try to get back in this game. And it looks like he just is going to try to combo here.
All right, so we see Buried Ruin getting back Krark-Clan Ironworks. Ironworks sacrifices Ichor Wellspring up to 2 mana. Hoping to find something this turn. He finds Chromatic Star, so he's still playing.
Yeah, with another Lord coming down that last turn, it's not going to be good enough for Harvey to just hope that Sword is good enough.
Down to 1 to cast the star, goes up to 3 colorless. Can filter mana through that star to draw another card, but that may just be the end of things. Even if he finds Thopter Foundry, I'm not sure how he's going to cast it.
Yeah, you have to turn it into a specific color here. You can't really just afford to turn it into 2 generic mana. Alright, so here we see Harvey pulling out a green mana, kind of playing to Ancient Stirrings. Just makes sense. There's also a point where Nature's Claim could get you to another turn if you Nature's Claim your own Sword of the Meek.
Here's a green mana, draws a card. It was not a green card, though.
That is true.
2 mana for another Sword of the Meek. Sacrifices for 6 colorless, and that is not going to do it. So Luke Feeney keeps his team in the match, taking both post-board games. 2-1. He is your winner with Bant Spirits.
We did not see Iron do much work.
No, it sat around.
And you know what? We got another game of me driving this punt into the ground.
And now we'll see if it's got a little work left to do, you could say.
No, you got to say it all together. You're so close. Come on now. We got to see if the iron works in the last game here at the Modern Open at SCG Columbus.
So, Abe Corrigan is your Ironworks player, Luke Feeney's teammate, hoping to complete the comeback. He's got 1 more win to go.
I got a level with you, Matthias. I've been looking forward to this matchup. I really
Grixis
wanted to
Death
see
Shadow.
this one. I love Grixis Shadow. I love Ironworks. These are 2 players who obviously are on top of their game. This is why they were able to make it this far. And I just want to see some good magic.
Abe is going to be on the play here for game number 3. He's on 7-card hand on the play. His opponent, Omar Beldon, on Grixis Shadow, 6 on the draw. We start out on Corrigan's side with Mox Opal and Grove of the Burnwillows, a card that's actually pretty good here.
Love it. I want to see, here's what I want to see. I want to see Corrigan go end of turn, float a green.
Yep.
Go.
That's the end of the Omar's going to fetch Shock. Now, I got news. Abe doesn't just have 1 Grove of the Burnwillows.
How many does he have?
There's at least 2. That is basically just killing all the Death Shadows in Omar's deck before they happen.
Oh, yeah, and that also hurts the efficacy of so many of Beldon's other cards, right? Stubborn Denial gets so much worse if your Death Shadows don't exist. That card's just a force spike if you don't have a threat on the table.
Thoughtseize from Beldon. Yeah.
This
Goes
is why
to 16.
Ooh, well, he's going to 15, but then he's going to go to 16.
Yeah.
It's a multi-step process, okay?
2 Scrap Trawlers and a Crockland Ironworks was the hand for Corrigan.
This is a nice hand. This is the type of thing where we also have this Buried Ruin, so we have some redundancy to fight through Thoughtseize, and we saw him play this Mox Opal on turn 1 specifically to protect it from this type of scenario. Oh!
And the life gain starts. There we go. Up to 16 for Omar.
Love it.
Is that a third grove that he just drew?
I hope so. So.
It is. These Death Shadows are so dead.
Oh. How many
does
are
he have enough?
Four.
Does he have enough? He has the whole place.
Yeah,
he drew a third. He drew a third.
Oh, yeah.
So Omar will have to build toward Gurmag Angler because nothing else is going to work.
Can you just feel Beldon going, ugh?
Figure out how to beat a turn 3 of tap 3 Grove of the Burn Willows, make Scrap Trawler.
If you try hard enough, maybe Grove can stop zombie fishes too. You just got to try
really hard. You have to you got to make sure you tap them every turn.
And green mana. It's a combo move.
Omar trying to get in range of those shadows. Another fetch shock here. But it's just not going to happen. Not against 2 or 3 of these.
Yeah, it definitely feels like he's kind of looking at his deck just going, man, what's the point? Why? Why do I shock here? Yep, exactly. Kind of leaning into the Demir side of the deck.
At this point, he's going to have to play a slow game and gets the basic swamp.
And the reason he'd be doing something like this here instead of just getting the shock anyway is because it makes it to where he can hold up a fetch land later and know that that fetch land can get any color he wants. Okay. Whereas he can kind of go ahead and just spend the black mana each turn, because when you have all these 1-drop black cards in your deck, you know that you're probably going to spend a single black every turn. So it's fine to fetch your basic swamp here. It's a good swamp. I love this team's choice in basics. Do it.
Omar passing. Yeah, looks like some life. So he's up at 15 right now. Fetched because he didn't fetch for a shock land. We'll see how many extra life points Abe wants to give him.
I hope
seems
it's
like
2.
all of them.
I hope it's 2. That's got to be Beldon's play here, right? Is make it look like he's given up on the paying life thing, and then out of nowhere he can just like cycle Street Wraith, fetch shock, Thoughtseize, Death Shadow.
We'll go to 13 for a Street Wraith. And Serum Visions. Really building up toward, we're now going to look at these 4 Gurmag Anglers and 3 Snapcaster Mages as the threats. I mean, there are 4 Street Wraiths in the deck. Typically, those you don't see them attacking.
And we're at Gurmag Angler threshold. Well, we're missing the Gurmag part of that. All right. Okay. Corrigan, staying true to the fight.
Yeah, third one. And
you
the
just see him
Trawler.
go, oh yeah, you're gaining the life. You're gaining,
18.
We'll
confirm.
Who are we?
Yeah, there it goes.
Yeah. This has got to feel like trying to run a foot race in mud.
You just hope to draw that Faithless Looting and discard these Death Shadows.
I'll get there eventually. I can pay so much
I'm going to take 3 more. 3 more, right? That'll last me a turn.
This is... Oh, crap.
You just got to keep going. Yeah, he just repatches the other basic.
This is so much
I think
harder
we're getting the
than
other
usual.
basic.
You know,
there we go. Yeah, I'll get the island.
We're making jokes, but our Corrigan can't be happy about turn 3. Enjoy my 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, it's slow. The question is what threats Omar has kept, right? If he kept a bunch of Death Shadows, then this is going to be good enough.
How? Do you attack him to death with 3 2s?
Sure, why not?
You put him back in Death Shadow
range.
range.
Oh, you can't. Okay, you just have to hang out for a while. If we get enough scrap trawlers in play, once you have 3 or 4 scrap trawlers, then this will work.
This is good for Beldon. That Death Shadow's in graveyard.
And he
that
didn't even
not
have
his
to.
Hand.
Nice that the from Thought Scour doing work.
That's a combo. That is the old.
Get that.
Thought
If he's
Scour.
boarded in the surgicals, he should just surgical the Death Shadow. just to be sure.
Look, Beldon just looks over to Patel and Harvey. I'm doing this for us.
Look, this is card advantage in the long run.
This is for the team.
Fatal Push with Revolt takes care of Scrap Trawler. Nothing in the yard for it to trawl back.
It always feels bad when that happens.
Both decks just firing on all cylinders here.
No. I can't make a joke out of this. They just, of all the things they're firing on, all cylinders, it does not make the list.
These are 2 of the best decks in Modern, and you can see why.
Look
One's a 3-2 for 2 against,
just
blue-black control.
Oh, it's nice. See, one of them puts a 3-2 into play, and the other one taps all its lands every
turn.
turn.
Oh, yeah, the 3-2s make your opponent gain 10 life. You have to, you don't just get a 3-2.
They only gain 10 life instead of 13.
Right.
Are you excited? I feel
nice.
like
someone's gonna have to break this stalemate at some point.
Someone's got to bring us like blankets and popcorn. We're gonna be here all night. We're having a proper slumber
Maybe no one will be able to win. Maybe this is just this game is just gonna keep going.
Oh yeah. Corrigan's gonna take out the anglers, and then have.
Let's see if they both sport in
Beldon
surgicals. Maybe they could do that.
Paying life.
Yeah, this sounds great.
No, it doesn't.
There's some Leyline of the Voids in Omar's deck. If he had one more land, he can start casting those.
That always is kind of the point where you're just like, this is going on forever. What are we doing here?
4th land from Omar. Not even fetch shocking anymore. What's the point?
Oh yeah, this is basically a dead card. Why would you even fetch? It's just paying life that you'll gain back. It's pointless.
Trading draw steps.
Ooh, you know what this Engineered Explosives does?
It can come back with Scrap Trawler. Nothing. If you can get it to 7, you can kill Gurmag Anglers.
We got all kinds of. Okay, so we have green on lock.
All right.
We have red.
Yep.
Dark Steel Citadel pays colorless. Don't make it weird.
Okay.
All right. Mox Opal is white.
Well,
and eventually, if we have more Mox Opals, we can pay for red and then magenta and burgundy.
Yeah. Well, Mox is of any color. So Mox Opal has this nice test where you can tap for of any color. So as long as you get a Mox Opals right, you can just keep making more colors.
That's how we're getting orange and plaid in the equation.
Right. I think it has to be the Mox Opals though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll sit behind that. Engineer Explosives on 7.
This Buried Ruin is going to play a role. If we only need 2 Mox Opals to break that threshold, because we can recur one of them.
Okay, so we only have to draw 3 of the opals, not all of the opals.
Exactly.
Okay. We'll hit it probably 15 cards sooner because of that. That was a good find.
Can we just go take them the trophy?
Looks through the graveyard
we know the line.
here.
They have to see the line.
Both players trying to find some sort of threat, something that does something.
I really like Beldon's teammate fanning out his graveyard there to make it look like there's a decision.
Look at all these. Look at all these things. We have so many things.
Just spread the cards out.
You could have a Snapcaster or an Angler. Or who knows? Basic Island, the draw for Abe.
You know, of all the games I've seen in my life, this is one of them.
What if instead of using Quarkline Ironworth to generate a lot of mana, what if he just plays a lot of lands? That's a combo too, right?
Oh, we can hard cast Spine of Ishsaw next turn.
Snapcaster Mage, it's a threat. It's a card that does a thing. Omar has cast it. Oh my goodness, here's Thought Scour.
GG.
That might draw a second card that does something.
GG, no re.
Mills over Thought Scour and Street Wraith, and that's a sad mill. We'd be casting the Street Wraiths at this point.
Oh, we'd love it. You know what kills Street Wraith? Nothing.
Nothing in Abe's deck. You can tap Grove of Burnwills as many times as you want.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A swing for 2. Damage finally coming from the Grixis Shadow deck. It's down to 18 for Abe. He has drawn one of his Leyline of the Void.
The curse has been broken. We may be freed just yet.
Remember, Leyline's not exactly like Rest in Peace. If you don't remember that it actually, for those of you haven't actually seen the card cast, it exiles future graveyards, but it doesn't start by crypting first.
That's true. So this Buried Ruin could actually end up doing a lot of work with this Ironworks hiding out in the graveyard here. We've seen Corrigan not crack it just yet because he doesn't want to expose it to a Thoughtseize, but yeah, this is just kind of the way of it.
And that is a Leyline of the Void. Checks. That is in play. Future cards will go to the graveyard. Now, Engineered Explosives on 4 is actually an option for Abe here.
Yes, it is. We're kind of waiting for one more color of mana. This Opal is not online yet.
Right. Any artifact, and then red, green, blue, and magenta, he'll be able to make it on 4. Take care of that Leyline of the Void.
You can't make magenta mana, Matthias. This is a serious cast.
Here, we can try. Here's Terrarian.
That's our 4th color.
All right.
We've done it.
Yeah, the 4 land setup. Abe has just enough mana for the play.
Every time. Every time.
Yeah, here's Engineered Explosives on 4.
Oh. Can even pay for Stubborn Denial.
So many lands. And he will pass there. And the nice part about this is he doesn't actually have to use the Engineered Explosives right away.
Oh, yeah. You're just going to stare until... trying to buy time because Beldon can't cast his other copies of the card. And then if Beldon tries to use something like, say, a Kolagon's command to blow up the Engineered Explosives, then you just kind of respond and get to take the ley line with it.
Down to 16. Snapcaster hits in, but still no more pressure from Omar.
Basically halfway there. Give or take.
I'd have to count. Hold on.
Help.
There's...
Help. Save me. I think I did the math wrong.
This half part it's thrown me for a huge loop.
It's yeah, you're right. It's my bad. Corrigan kind of tanking on if he wants to go on and crack the explosives here, it looks like. Oh, it's time.
He's going to go do that. That frees it up for this turn. See if he can come up with some plays now that his graveyard is unlocked.
Seem to pick up a Psymaster Thopterus, it looks like.
That's
so close to playing. It's close. The big issue is there just aren't a lot of little rocks in his hand to pair with it. There's a Scrap Trawler here, but you kind of want to get more than a single Thopter off Psy. But we also may be a point in the game where Abe's just kind of thinking to himself, what could Beldon really have? How many Fatal Pushes does he have access to at this point? Alright, so the thought here is you want to go ahead and crack this Terrarian, with the big reason being that if the Scrap Trawler that he's probably about to cast dies, you want to make sure you're getting something out of the deal. You're getting something back in that case. It also just gives him a little bit more information on if he's going to have something to cast on the back of this Psy and how he wants to sequence his spells.
Blue-green floated off Terrarian. Cycles through. He will cast Psy, Master Thopterist.
And it's Trawlin time.
Right, it's his only artifact as a follow-up, so he'll cast that and get a Thopter. He can start creating a lot of value off this, though it feels like Omar's at the ready with some kind of answer.
And there's even maybe a point where there could have been consideration for waiting on the Terrarian and just sacrificing, say, the Terrarian and the Mox Opal simultaneously to the Psy, as then you just get the Mox Opal back with the Scrap Trawler's ability, and then you get to recast it, get another Thopter, and so on. But in a case like this with the Dismember, you could kind of get punished for a play that greedy.
So the Dismember is here. Psy will go to the graveyard, but a Thopter is in play from that Scrap Trawler, and now Scrap Trawler as well.
Corrigan actually also looking like he sacrificed that Mox Opal and the Darksteel Citadel to exchange it for a real card, and I like it. I think lands number 7 and 8, probably not worth a random card out of the deck, especially when you have a Trawler on the table.
Back to Beldon we go. He's still looking for some cards of like Gurmag Angler. Street Wraith at this point, just ways to attack.
Street Wraith would be nice. You know what? A 3/4 beats.
Well, basically everything. Snapcaster Mage is the attack. Could trade with either of these two creatures.
It's hard to imagine that Corrigan chooses to do that. But there's a chance that you decide, a Thopter is worth a little bit less than a Snapcaster Mage.
You're right. He just takes the 2, and the turn is passed back over to Ironworks.
Here we're going to see the redundancy of the Ironworks deck really start to catch up with this match, right? We're seeing these lands where even though Corrigan is flooded a little bit, he drew another Buried Ruin here, so even though he has 2 of those, he can turn those into spells because the game has gone to turn 100 effectively.
Well, he has so much mana, these things like the cost of 2 on Buried Ruin just don't provide that much of a barrier. He can both get back something with Buried Ruin, cast it, and keep doing things all in one go.
Exactly. So we've cast a Mind Stone, and now we have 6 mana available. It's not like we're really running low on things here, and if Beldon were looking to kill the Scrap Trawler now, you get to sacrifice this Mind Stone, get back Terrarian, Scrap Trawler dies, get back the Mind Stone, and you're just kind of gonna go wild with this card advantage engine as it stands.
Abe not wanting to attack, not really wanting to block either, though. An Omar will challenge them on that. Snapcaster Mage hits in again, and another 2 damage sends Abe to 12.
Yeah, I also really liked Corrigan not attacking last turn, as Beldon could have just flashed in a Snapcaster Mage and blocked.
Well, there's still the Death Shadows, right? You
Exactly.
still can't attack. The whole point of those Grove of the Burn Willows was to not deal damage.
Exactly. Oh, exactly.
Kirkland Ironworks coming back from Buried Ruin.
How do you feel about not... I kind of like that we've gotten a little more responsible with these Groves. We kind of said, all right, 19, this might be enough.
That's enough.
Or like the 20-ish range. We haven't just done Grove every single turn possible anymore. Now we've kind of said, all right, I might end up trying to need to win a fair game with something like Psy Master Thopterist, and that's going to be much harder if Beldon's from, at, say, 40 instead of 20.
Right. Yeah, the way around enabling Death Shadows is to keep Omar somewhere around 20, then establish a board of 10 or so power, and try to end it in 1 or 2 attacks.
Exactly. You just hit him for 10 or 9 or something in that range.
Then they can play their shadows, but they never get to untap with them.
Exactly.
But Abe, using these Buried Ruins, has started to get something going. Ancient Stirrings is going to find another card.
I believe there's a Mere Retriever in there, which puts him pretty close to a loop, assuming that Beldon doesn't have any interaction. And It's hard to even feel bad if he does have interaction when you have all these recursive pieces.
Yeah, these Buried Ruins, these Scrap Trawlers. Now, both ruins were used, so now... But he will get Mere Retriever off that Ancient Stirrings.
It's kind of a recursive piece in itself. You just have Retriever gets back the Trawler, gets back Retriever, gets back Trawler, and so on.
Oh, just the value plays from Ironworks. That is certainly iron working.
I'm so proud of you.
There we go.
I feel like we've grown today. This is like the end of the Grinch, where I feel like I've really just watched your heart grow 3 sizes.
Here is Kirkland Ironworks from Abe Corrigan. Hand, second Scrap Trawler and Mere Retriever. And, yeah, a loop does exist here.
Yep.
Something might go wrong.
Beldon's posture here, I hope he has a response, just because I love this sort of poker face.
Here's Mere Retriever from Abe. Mana counters have come out.
Uh-oh.
Is this going to be the end of the tournament? And getting ready here.
It's kind of tanking. Whole tournament rides on this.
There is a Terrarian for that Mere Retriever sacrifice. They can trawl into a Terrarian, get back another card as well. It's going to be Terrarian and Mox Opal. He'll trawl into one and retrieve the other.
Exactly.
Making 2 mana. Does Omar have any answers? Looks like they're actually going to start with a sacrifice of Mind Stone for 2 colors, getting back just Terrarian, keeping that Retriever around.
Okay, so the draw to this is specifically now we have 2 ways to pay mana for something as well as the 1-drop, so now we just need to get back a Mox Opal and find one more thing that costs mana in order to establish a loop. Oh, that was another Scrap Trawler.
Right, that's a second Scrap Trawler in hand. He still has the Terrarian. That one was trawled into off of Mind Stone. No more artifacts to sacrifice. So if he wants to make the terrarium here, he'd have to Ironworks away a trawler, which is a pretty big cost.
That is not a small cost, that's for sure. So you could look at something to the effect of cast Terrarium, sacrifice Mirror Retriever and Scrap Trawler at the same time to pay for it, have those two cards get back each other.
Bit of spinning, but there is a profit being made. Mind Stone and Mox Opal coming back off that Scrap Trawler, so 2 colorless mana in the pool for Abe. His hand is now a 1, a 2, and a 0, so he has different points on the curve for his Trawler. Can he make something happen with him? It feels like it's there.
Right, he needs to be able to basically have to pay the costs on a spell in a way that doesn't cost him mana over the course of sacrificing all of his cards.
Opal makes a green, 2 colors spent on Mind Stone.
Doing a lot of care to kind of play through Stubborn Denial in these situations.
And Mirror Retriever going to be sacrificed. That's going to, hold on, we'll get to that at some point. Here is Mox Opal making 2 colors, down to 1 for Terrarium. Everything's resolving. So far, no interaction on Omar's side. So where does Abe want to start? On the combo, you start with the cheapest one, so Terrarium will be sacrificed, 2 colors, try to buy back Mox Opal. It will draw a card. That card is, ooh, that's a good one. It's a blue one here. Are we looking at
Master Thopterist?
And that is the Master Thopterist cast off of Mox Opal, and at this point, there's a lot of loops that exist.
Oh yeah, there's so much going on here. It's real hard to imagine that you don't just find a way to win when you get a Thopter every time you cast something.
So Mox Opal going to sacrifice, going up to 3, draws into Mind Stone.
Get a card back, you say?
Back here, our first Thopter off of Sai, sacrifices Terrarium, going up to 3 colors. Brings back Mox Opal, draws into Krark Clan Ironworks. So 3 colors right now. Mox Opal will get him a Thopter, and we'll just enter the battlefield, make a color, sacrifice for 2 more. At some point here, there are loops he can demonstrate. Now, he's not doing this one yet because he was trying to play around cards, but at this point, it feels like there just aren't cards to play around if we've gotten this far.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. We're kind of at the point where you're just always going to keep getting cards back, and now that you have 2 trawlers, you just keep to go forever. Okay, yeah, it looks like he's explaining a loop here to just say, look,
right.
I make infinite Thopters and draw all my cards.
So Mox Opal plus Scrap Trawler plus Mirror Retriever plus Sai is actually an infinite loop. He explains it, and that is going to be the match. Abe Corrigan pulls it through with Krark Clan Ironworks 2 games to 1 over Omar Beldon. He is the